I figured out in 5 years old that I better shut up and please the man if I wanted to live. And that was still driving me in my insecurity and earning love and earning worth. And
Mm-hmm.
everything was about performance. And this is the thought that ran through my mind. Okay. So this is a senior executive with a big savings account, living in a really nice house with a company that would do anything to keep him. But this was the thought that ran through my mind. Oh, wow. If my company finds out I'm sick and fires me, I won't starve because I can go to the food bank. So everything else in my life looked perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
3 kids, beautiful wife, beautiful home, lots of money. But that's the private world I was living in.
Hi, I'm Barb Nangle. I want to welcome you to my podcast, Fragmented to Whole, Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. If you're tired of feeling fragmented and overwhelmed, this podcast is your guide to creating a life of wholeness, authenticity, and healthy boundaries. I'm a woman in recovery who is also a boundaries coach and speaker. I share raw and honest insights from my own journey and the principles of 12-Step Recovery. Discover how to set boundaries without guilt or shame, overcome people-pleasing tendencies, manage your emotions effectively, cultivate a stronger sense of self, and build healthier relationships. My approach is raw, honest, and sometimes a little bit, a lot sweary. I'm an avid beachcomber and a formerly closeted fan of the Hallmark Channel, especially Christmas movies. I wear fingerless gloves almost all year round because my hands are always cold. And I love taking pictures of license plates with my initials BN on them. I don't speak for or endorse any particular 12-step program of recovery. Though I'm a huge fan of 12-step recovery and a member of two such fellowships, I cannot speak for them. If you're ready for real talk and practical tools for transformation, keep listening.
This is episode 350, and this is with my guest, Art Blanchford, and it's Letting Go and Letting God, the long walk from pleasing others to purpose. I am really excited to have Art here today. I met Art when I was a guest on his podcast, which is called Life in Transition. And we had such a fantastic conversation. And I was like, oh my God, I love this guy. I totally want to have him on my podcast. And he's in WA, Workaholics Anonymous, and I've never had a guest from Workaholics Anonymous. So we were just talking about some of the ins and outs of that program. I was like, let's hit record so people can hear all the good stuff. So I'm going to let you just riff and then I might jump in here and there, but please go ahead, introduce yourself, tell us whatever you want to know, and then share your experience, strength, and hope from recovery with us, Art.
Awesome. Well, Barb, thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we did have a great conversation, and there's a lot of people that don't know of WA.
Mm-hmm.
I came to WA. I was a big time corporate executive. I've lived all over the world, I've run multi-billion-dollar companies, thousands of employees. I know this is not very anonymous, but it's key to what I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
I'd
Mm-hmm.
saved a lot of money. And yet, when the pandemic came and I was not having to travel constantly like I did, I was jet lagged for 25 years.
Jeez.
And thought it was normal, thought it was fine.
Well, for you, it was normal.
Thought I
Wasn't
was
it?
Superman,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when I didn't have to get on a plane the next day and my body somehow knew that I wouldn't have to get on a plane for the next month, it shut down.
Mm.
So I was in bed for the better part of 12 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks. And this is a guy that meditated, ate healthy, ran marathons, yoga, the whole 9 yards, I thought. But I was doing all of that as a way to optimize the machine
Mm.
to perform, to please the man,
Mm.
which I didn't realize until I was in my late 40s in therapy, and realizing how much I was influenced by a very traumatic event I had as a cult, where I figured out in 5 years old that I better shut up and please the man if I wanted to live. And that was still driving me in my insecurity and earning love and earning worth. And
Mm-hmm.
everything was about performance. And I
Mm.
was really good at
So
it.
I don't normally jump in, but I feel very strongly compelled to jump in here.
Sure.
And if you're willing to share the 5-year-old event, I'd love to hear it. And here's why. Because when I was 11, I so that would have I was born in 60, so that would have been 1974. I was like, I need an income. And had to convince my brother to share a paper route with me because you had to be
Right.
12 to have a paper route. And it never occurred to me until I got in recovery what the fuck was going on at age 11 that
Yeah.
I was like, I need an income. And when I reflect back now, I'm like, that's approximately the age that I learned that my dad was cheating on my mom. And I learned that my mom secretly smoked cigarettes. So I basically learned I can't trust my
Your parents.
parents.
Yeah.
So I better take care of this shit. And I've had an
Yeah.
income since I was 11 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
And I've never heard anybody else say what you said. So I wanted to preface.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
so
have no problem to share that. It's on my podcast episode. I think it's episode 7, 6 or
okay.
7, called From Cult to Captain of Industry, where I share that story in more depth. But briefly, when I was 5 or 6, at that time, the leader of the cult was a benevolent God to me.
Okay.
That's all I had known, right, in my short life. But that day, um, my mom, I'd been at his house for a while. My mom came to his house after I hadn't seen her for 3 or 4 days, which is a long time for 5 or 6 year old.
Hmm.
And I ran over to hug her leg, and he ran over and started beating her and yelling at her and calling her a devil and kicked her out of the house. And I started crying, and she peeled my arms off her leg and walked out of the house still out of breath. And I looked around at all the other adults, aunts and uncles and cousins in the room, and they all had this hollow stare or were looking at their toes. And the cult leader started yelling at me. And I started crying, of course, and he started
Oh
yelling at
my
me.
God.
And I all of a sudden looked around and I thought, holy shit, better shut up and please the man. Or if you want to effing live, you better shut up and please the man.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I shut up and pleased the man. And I did that very, very well
Hmm.
through all my jobs that I had. Started working when I was 6.
Hmm. Wow.
And, through university, teachers in high school, teachers in university, bosses. And in corporate America, if you have skills and you can please the man, holy cow.
Oh
Right.
yeah, you're getting
So
promoted. Yeah.
I did incredibly well because of that, but it was unhealthy. I was in a deep
Mm-hmm.
level of anxiety and fear for a long
Mm-hmm.
time. I was eventually diagnosed with GAD. But then,
I don't know what that is.
oh, sorry, general anxiety disorder.
Oh, okay. I do know what it is. I just never
Yeah.
heard it abbreviated. Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally
Sorry.
know what that is. Yeah.
And, worked my way into therapy because I had my oldest son who's adopted was having all kinds of issues. And part of the requirement for his therapy was for me to be in therapy, which even though I'd done all kinds of personal growth work and workshops and Tony Robbins and everything, I still thought therapy was for wussies at the time. And how do I do it? And it's awkward. And
Yeah.
but that got me started. And through that, I, doing EMDR and stuff, I uncovered that. And then I started a version of parts work on myself from a men's group I was in. I didn't even know it was called parts work at the time or IFS. I didn't know there was a thing called IFS, but I've been doing that for 5 or 6 years. But what happened that, when I'm laying in bed there, and they were on the TV, the news, talking about COVID. And if you didn't have food, you could go to the Nissan Stadium in Nashville, Tennessee, where I lived at the time. And that someone in a spacesuit would put a week's worth of groceries in the back of your vehicle. So whatever reason you didn't have food, don't be afraid of COVID. Don't come out and we'll put stuff in, no contact, And this is the thought that ran through my mind. Okay. So this is a senior executive with a big savings account living in a really nice house with a company that would do anything to keep him. But this was the thought that ran through my mind. Oh, wow. If my company finds out I'm sick and fires me, I won't starve because I can go to the food bank.
Wow.
So everything else in my life looked perfect, right?
Mhm.
3 kids, beautiful wife, beautiful home, lots of money. But that's the private world I was living in, even after lots of work, lots of therapy and stuff. So my wife said, honey, maybe. And I also didn't want to let go of my job, even though I clearly needed to. Like I was going to file for disability, but my company said, no, you can't file for disability. We're a public company and it look bad. We'll just pay you. So it's fine. Don't worry. Get healthy. Take care of yourself. We'll pay you full.
Mhm.
Really great. But I still had a hard time to let go of my job, even with full salary and benefits. It'd be nice to have those now, I can tell you. But my wife said, there's this thing called WA and there's a little quiz here. Maybe you should just take the little quiz. And I'm like, I'm not a workaholic. I don't work 80 hours a week and I'm home on weekends and I love my kids and my wife. And, maybe you should just take the quiz. So I took the quiz, April 2020. And I think at the time there's 20 questions and they said, if you have 3 of them, maybe you're a workaholic. I still think that's BS because everybody has at least 3 of those,
Mhm.
but I had 16
Ooh.
out of 20. And when I did it a year later and I was no longer in denial, I had 19. I didn't have 19 a year later. I had 19 originally,
Mhm. Right. You were in
but I was
denial.
in
Yeah,
denial on
same.
3.
Same with the laundry list in ACA. I thought I had 7 of the 14 traits, and I actually have like 13.5 of the traits.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I joined, my first meeting was May 2nd, 2020. And what WA gave me right away was a closer walk with higher power or God than I'd ever experienced in any church or cult or anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And even lots, I mean, I read tons and lots, I mean, praying and all that, meditation, but there's some sort of this part about actually admitting that my life was unmanageable. It was almost impossible for me because I was Superman. I could do anything and everything. And I'd proved it my whole life since I was 3 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to quit my job, but I was really afraid to. And I was afraid I would starve, and I had convinced myself that I could only make good money working in this industry and big jobs like that. And I had a fellow from WA that said, walk to your boss, who's the CEO of the company, talk to your boss and tell the truth. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to give away my power. I'm going to give away my leverage, Yeah, but that's God's issue, not yours.
Yeah, it's God's property. Yeah.
So just, and I had a sponsor later that I love. He said, Art, you don't work for that boss. You don't work for that company. You work for God. And God's got all kinds of ways for you to do okay. God's a lot bigger than that company. So I had the courage to talk to my boss and be candid and said, I'm done. I'm out. I want to quit. I've got another offer from a competitor. And this is part I didn't want to tell him. I said, but I don't even want to take it. I just need the break. And I have a non-compete. So I'd get a break in between.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, tell them to F off and we'll work out something. And I said, but if I leave, you need to fire me because, I need to get paid to leave basically because I want to not have to go back in this industry. Anyway, it took us a while, but I worked steady. And a year and a half later, I was out of that and took 6 months completely off, which was maybe the most difficult thing I ever did, to not have a schedule and not be important. During that time, I read Ram Dass's book, Becoming Nobody. Of course, I read the affirmations every day in the back of this book, page 214. You can see, the amount of underlining stuff.
I'm familiar with him. My younger brother, who is now deceased, was a huge Ram Dass fan, but I haven't heard of that one, Becoming Nobody. I may have to.
No, that's a great one because, we spend our whole life becoming somebody. We're told to become somebody. Hey, why don't you be somebody? You go get good grades, get a good job, get titles, get promotions, get bosses, get cars, it's all becoming somebody, right? One of the mornings that I woke up, as I almost always did during that time, at 3:00 in the morning in a cold sweat. And that wasn't because I was physically sick. That was because I was mentally unstable. Like, oh my God, I'm going to starve. I have to get up and start spending time with my spreadsheets again to make sure I'm not going to starve. But one of the things that came to me that God gave me during that time was, life is not a grand monument to be built, but an unfolding adventure to be experienced. And that's becoming nobody, right? Let go of the monuments, because there's nothing wrong with achieving stuff, especially in the first half of life. But monuments are not what life's about. You can't take them with you. They don't keep you warm. They don't love you back. And if you love them, it's misplaced, right? So it was a huge journey of learning that I was worthy of being loved without performing. That it's okay to rest. That it's okay to have joy. And these affirmations I read every day for the first 6 months. I read the whole list every day. Before I do anything, I first do nothing. The slower I go, the faster I grow. Right? When I take time, I make time. I refuse to rush. I was the best rusher in the world. Oh, so good.
I literally have no rushing on a sticky right there. And
there you go.
One of the affirmations in ACA that I was like, what? It was, don't just do something, sit there. And I was like, what? Because I'm not a workaholic, but I do have a very strong drive to produce and accomplish.
Yeah. And that's, when offered something great, I say no if I need rest. Rest is the best thing I can give myself. Or how about this one on for science? There's no place I have to go and nothing I have to do.
Oh, I love that.
All right. Can you imagine a guy that was used to having 8 to 10 hours of executive meetings per day, not to mention the workload on top of that?
Wow.
And to actually acknowledge that this is actually true. Right. The note I have underneath this is 6/5/20. Need to remember this always. All right. There's so many. I read this one. My life is full yet underscheduled. And I have the note written next to it. Makes me want to cry. 5/16/2020.
Mm,
How can I have a full life that's underscheduled? Because
mm,
my fullness was measured by adrenaline.
mm,
And Workaholics Anonymous, our drug of choice is adrenaline. And
mm-hmm.
we manufacture our own.
Yeah, we call that the inner drugstore in ACA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Adrenaline, cortisol,
Yep. All those.
melatonin,
Right.
what do you call it? What's the one, the touch one?
Dopamine.
Yeah,
Oh,
dopamine.
endorphins.
Yeah, that all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's so much. I love myself no matter what. I am perfect just the way I am. I am enough. I have enough. I do enough.
Mm-hmm. Those
Or
are
one,
mine too. Yeah, I am enough. I have enough. I do enough.
yeah. One of the ones I love so much, this one, because I'm a personal growth fiend as well. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I say number 24, I do not try to grow. I accept myself as I am, and then I
Mm-hmm.
grow automatically.
That's so good, Art. I in the last few months, actually by processing with ChatGPT, I realized that I had become hyper vigilant about personal development.
Yeah.
So at this moment
Yep.
in time, the only podcast I'm listening to is Girls Gone Hallmark.
Yeah.
I don't read any personal
Yep.
development. I read novels.
There
I'm
you
doing
go. Yep.
puzzles. I have one right there that I'm just about to start. I listen
Excellent.
to a lot of comedy. Josh
Oh,
Johnson is my
fun.
new favorite.
Who is it that's
I
your new
am
favorite?
Josh Johnson.
Okay.
He's apparently one of the rotating hosts of The Daily Show, and
Okay.
he was a writer for them, but he is prolific in terms of how much comedy he produces.
Oh, wow.
And he's very, very intelligent and very funny.
That's good. I think comedy would be good for me because I think
Mm.
that's what I'm asking. And I'll give a
Mm.
little plug for my neighbor when I lived in Nashville was Nate Bargatze. I was
Oh, no way. Oh,
right
he's
up the
one of my new
street.
favorites, Nate Bargatze. Oh
He's
my
just
God, I
blown up
love
in the
him.
last few years, but it's so funny. My friend who's his next door neighbor
Uh-huh.
during COVID, they would sit out in the driveway, their little girls, and be the
Uh-huh.
audience. Those two
Yeah.
families right there
Oh, that's so
during
cool.
COVID.
Yeah. No,
But no, that's
he's
it's good
hilarious.
stuff. And
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like, so I've learned to sit with the horrible alone. I have I've really live into the promises, and I've found value I can accept now that people love me without performing. I can accept that it's maybe okay to just do something for the enjoyment of it or just the playfulness of it, right?
Mhm.
We have a thing in here too. I don't remember where it is, but it says work is the highest form of play. Like if you really, we talked a little bit before we got on about what does it mean to be sober in WA?
Mhm.
And we do have bottom lines that we try to stick to, but we don't have coins and we don't reset. And because that's
Mhm.
workaholic,
Mhm. Right.
right? Doing
Yeah.
it to a perfect instead of good enough. Like if it's worth
Yeah.
doing, one of our other slogans, if it's worth doing,
Yeah.
it's worth doing so. And actually there's that thing that we have in our Western society about if it's worth doing right, it
Yeah.
blocks so much creativity and productivity
Oh my God. Yeah.
because people don't do anything. I had a coaching client this morning. I was coaching, talking about that.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want to do this every day. And I'm like, well, what's the MVP, the minimally viable product, the minimally viable way you could do that?
Yeah.
Oh, it should be like, no, but I said, how often do you do it? Because it should be. Yeah, I do it once or twice a week. Well, okay. What would be a way that you could do it? So doing something much half-assed, really
Mhm.
half-assed every day is going to be much more valuable to him
Mhm.
than
Mhm.
doing something
Yeah.
perfect once a week.
Yeah.
Right. But I love this. And this is you talked about, sharing the hope or the experience, strength, and hope, as we know from recovery. I think this is my favorite. I love the affirmation, but I think this is my favorite part of the book. It's called The Promises. And maybe you have the same thing in yours, but The
Mhm.
Promises of Workaholics Anonymous. We are not obsessed by work or plagued by work aversion. 2, adrenaline seeking loses its hold on us. Excessive worry and anxiety become a thing of the past. 3, we have a daily action plan that faces the reality of time, as well as priorities such as recovery, recreation, and relationships.
Mm.
4, fears that there will not be, this was me, enough time, money, or love leave us.
Mm.
Fears leave us. 5, we learn to play and have fun together.
So we have that. That's one of our promises in
Nice.
ACA too. We learn to play and have fun in our lives rather than survive.
Yeah. So if you see me out running, I run most mornings.
Yeah.
You see me out running here on the streets or down on the beach, which is a mile from my house, you'll see me doing the beach. I call it the beach flyer.
Oh, nice. Oh,
that I
like
saw
an
my son doing when he
airplane.
was 6 years old, and
Yeah.
made me think, well, that's really cool. So now I'm 54 years old doing beach flyer or
Good for
skipping or
you.
spinning around when I'm running.
I
You know,
love it.
so yeah, we learn to have fun and play together. 6, we repair broken relationships and build new ones.
Mm,
7, health and self-nurturance return.
mm,
8, self-seeking and ego inflation do not drive our decisions. 9, we lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in and compassion for our families, partners, friends, and coworkers. 10, we experience how well the program helps us to handle problems that used to confuse and defeat us.
love it.
One of the things I've seen so bigly in that way, and I've written about this as well, but I used to get a lot of adrenaline from searching around for the stone in muddy water,
Mm, good metaphor. Oh,
right? And I would make the water muddy,
yeah.
not consciously, but clearly
Mm-hmm.
unconsciously. I would make the muddy water so that
Mm-hmm.
I could frantically search around for a stone and get my high.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I could sit still, be at
Mm-hmm.
peace, enjoy the beautiful flowing water with all the colors, and calmly pick out the rock that I'm looking for
Mm-hmm.
in the same or less time.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
really difficult for me to do. But that's
Mm-hmm.
this one for me, right? Those problems that used to confuse and defeat us is because we're making the muddy water. We're making our mind monkey, so we can get adrenaline
Mm-hmm.
instead of being at peace. 11, we ask for help. Imagine that. We ask for help and reach out to help others. Imagine that, right? 12, we find that a higher power helps us in a way that self-reliance never could.
Mm-hmm.
Are these extravagant promises? We think not.
Mm-hmm.
They are already happening in the lives of many among us. For those of you who are new to the fellowship, there are no problems that you've experienced that are not common to us. We welcome you with the deepest respect. I get emotional even reading this.
Yeah, of course.
When we apply this program with honesty and compassion, not daily, not working hard, when we apply it with honesty and compassion, a place of serenity grows in us one day at a time. And we
Mm.
have what we've always sought: love and peace of mind.
Ah, beautiful. So
So
do you
I'm
feel
not
like
there, but
all of those have, okay, that was my
um,
question. It's
I
like,
mean,
how many of those do you think have come true for you at this
let
point?
me see. And it's sort of back and forth. Like I have these good days, and then I realize, and the good thing is I realize much sooner. Like
Mm,
last week, I'm like tired all day and dragging and thinking, what's wrong with me and what's going on, And then it's 8 o'clock at night, I get this energy rush and think, oh, I better work because I have the energy. Well, guess what that energy is coming from?
yeah.
Adrenaline, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have a bottom line to not work past 8:30, no matter what, no chores, nothing, just
Mm-hmm.
not, just be winding down, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that night I did. But the good thing is then I realized right away, like the next day, I'm like, oh, I'm dragging so bad because I now have this crash, this recovery. It's like I'm on a bender, right? I have this totally, my body is like, because I pumped all this adrenaline out and now it's got to get out of the system, right? When I didn't really need it. I wasn't running, from a saber-tooth tiger.
Mm-hmm.
So I still have my moments, but if I look at that, I'm definitely not obsessed with work. And I'm not plagued by work aversion. That's the promise. But I do still have some work aversion now. I still avoid some of the money making things because I'm afraid I'll be too workaholic,
Mm-hmm.
or the mundane things that I used to have people for that I just don't
Mm-hmm.
want to do. So I just avoid them. So I have a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of work aversion still. Adrenaline seeking loses its hold on us. I don't have excessive worry or anxiety. That's really good. I really am pretty much at peace. The adrenaline seeking, I don't intentionally do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And yet I have those times like that evening, like, wow, I feel good. So let me go without
Mm-hmm.
checking, like, no, wait a minute. This is
Mm-hmm.
against my bottom line and there's something going on here. So, again, maybe 80% on those two. Have a daily action plan that faces the reality of time and priorities such as recovery. Okay, I have the action plan and it definitely has recovery, recreation, and relationships on there. And I always do the recovery first. So that always gets done, but it still doesn't face the reality of time completely.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'll do my process in the morning, my recovery, making my action plan. And the action plan will have, I have 3 main categories. There's 9 categories of life, but there's 3 main ones: relationships, personal, health, well being, spiritual. That's
Mm-hmm.
one. And then professional. And I only allow myself to put 2 things on my action plan in each one of those. And I do that in the morning, but then I'll come into the office and look at my schedule and I'll have, 5 sessions of recording also that day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really all of a sudden 8 things or 7 things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm not quite facing the reality of time yet. Fears that there will not be enough time, money, or love leave us. The love I've got, and that's the most important one.
Mm-hmm.
I still fear about not having enough money or enough time, but about 90% reduced than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, 90%'s a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I've even made big breakthroughs on that because, I've been living off my savings for the last few years. I have a business and it's making a little bit of money, but not enough to live off.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been gotten really clear about, but be generous anyway. But again, praying to higher power and what should you have me do, God? And God's like, be generous with others and with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because that's who you are. And more than likely, you'll make plenty of money later. And if you don't, and you happen to run out, you've been generous, others will be generous with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that's not a scientific financial plan, but I feel it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And the flip side is I can be stingy and tight and in scarcity now, and then make lots of money later and have wasted 10 years of being tight and crazy, for no
Mm-hmm.
reason. So not to be irresponsible, and I have a budget and follow it, but not to stress about it either.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that one. Learn to play and have fun together. I'm really good at that with my wife and even with my kids. Some close close family. I'm working on that with friends still. Repair broken relationship, build new ones. Yeah, I've repaired the broken ones that I want to repair, and have very good relationships with my family, my kids, and my wife, and they're working on building new relationships. We recently moved to, which also helps with that, with where I just show up exactly as I am now instead of any shoulds or monuments or anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Health and self-nurturance return. Yeah, the health is so much better than it was. All these things I go to the doctor for and they say, oh yeah, that's normal for a guy your age. It's normal, but it's not right.
Right.
Right. It's not
It's not
healthy.
healthy. We're not looking for normal. We're looking
It's
for
not
healthy.
vitality. Right.
Yeah.
So I take supplements now, but I don't take any drugs. I don't have any medicines.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel much better and function much better. The self-nurturance is much better. But again, like I just mentioned, sometimes I still adrenalize. I sleep much better now. I sleep well, which I didn't for a long time. And I sleep enough. I go to bed 9:30, 10 every night, get up 5:36. And that works really well. And a little hint on that, because a lot of people my age and also in recovery, especially if your body's going through chemical changes, a lot of us, my experience, I woke up a lot, 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and my mind would be racing and couldn't go back to sleep. And I mean, even into the last year, 12 months ago, I was still doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And what I do now is I'll set myself up a little eye mask that has headphones in it, little Bluetooth headphones, and I'll have a meditation or yoga nidra or a spiritual book, a wisdom book, and I'll have the timer set up 30 minutes before I go back to bed. And then if I wake up and my mind's spinning, normally it doesn't even spin at all now, but sometimes I'll still lay there for a while. But if I lay there more than 20 deep breaths, I'll put that on and then just listen to that and either go back to sleep or not. But either way, my eyes are closed and I'm resting and it's calming and I feel complete when I get out of bed later. So I don't have any stress about missing sleep anymore, which I had a lot for years, where I just lay there awake, even if my mind wasn't spinning. Most of the time it was. So self-nurturance much better. Still not there. Still a little bit of overeating or binge eating sometimes. Self-seeking, ego inflation don't drive our decisions. Huge steps in that direction. Got rid of all my traps, my ego traps.
Yeah.
The biggest one being my job.
Yeah.
Lose interest in selfish things, gain interest in compassion for partners, families, friends, coworkers. I would say the biggest thing here is I'll just give a small example. Like this week, I'm going back to Tennessee for some charity work and to see my 2 sons. And I sent a note out to my old men's group about maybe getting together for dinner or something. And some were saying yes, some were saying no. Most were saying no. And I was sort of like, my ego thing, let's have a big dinner and sort of celebrate me coming back to town, right? One of them, who I'm pretty close to, just had a baby. And he said, hey, I'd love to get together for dinner. And I said, well, why don't I just bring dinner over to your house?
Oh, there you go.
Right. So instead of sort of ego driven, like me, see everybody and be the center of attention,
Mm-hmm.
let me do service. and go deeper in one relationship instead of shallow in a bunch. And so
Love
that's how I would talk about, like, having compassion for and interest in others, one on
it.
one, make a difference, right? I started
Mhm.
volunteering with a Jonathan's Path, this beautiful organization. Look it up, jonathanspath.org, for kids aging out of foster care.
Okay.
And I started mentoring and teaching and really building relationships with these young men. And then eventually I did get on the board of that organization too, but it's not about like ego or how can I put on my resume or whatever. It's like, hey, how can I show up for these young men?
Hmm.
Right. And there's one that I know of I'm going to be back at my son's university. There's one that goes there that's been struggling, and I'm going to see if I can see him this weekend when I'm in town. Just quiet, just say hello, right? See how he's doing.
Hmm.
But you have to slow down enough. Like, this only comes out of having some space and slowing down. But these are the things that I think are more important. So that one I feel like I'm doing pretty well as far as building compassion and interest in others. Experience how well the program helps us to handle problems that confuse and defeat us. I think for the most problem, I mean, mostly I feel like most of the problems are still good. I still, like I said, still struggle a little bit around money. Ask for help and reach out to help others. Yep. I'm pretty good at that. I realized that having money was also a way of me being important and controlling things, right? I would use, like, I will pay for dinner. That makes me the big guy,
Hmm.
right? But now I don't mind letting somebody else pick up the tab. And I don't mind picking it up either, but I also, I have a budget now, right? And it's also not a controlling thing. Like, I noticed it as a money as a way of wielding it like power
Hmm.
before. So I'm willing to ask for help on that. And I definitely reach out to help others. Higher power helps us in ways self-reliance never could. That's so clear. And I think my sponsors told me so many times, um, just remember that God loves you no matter what, 100%, just the way you are.
Hmm.
And maybe he'd ask me this. He knows I have dogs. He says, when are you happiest with your dogs? And I'm like, well, when they're happy, like when they're really playing or playful and just really enjoying themselves. And he said, and let me just check real quick. How much do your dogs produce? How much do they earn? How much do they pay you? No, no, they're just happy. Yeah. Well, maybe that's what God wants.
That's
Maybe
so,
we're dogs for God. And what God wants is to experience joy through us experiencing joy.
yeah. Oh my God, that's beautiful.
And he reminds me of that a lot. And that, so yeah, I'm leaning into higher power and, and realizing that our deepest desires from our higher self is also God's will for us.
Mm.
And when, my sponsor also says, and he's several programs. So when he says this, he means it. He's like, if you really line yourself up with God's will, it's like a heroin with no come down. I mean, it's just like really you're in the flow and you're really, doing God's will. So,
Yeah.
so how am I doing? I think, yeah, pretty good. Is there still a lot of room to do? Yes. And especially when I'm around, like I noticed when my in-laws were here last week, and I love my in-laws and I see them quite often, but I don't spend weeks with them. I spend 2 or 3 days or 2 days here or there. And my relationship with them over the last 30 years has been, I'm the working guy. I'm busy and I'm important, and I noticed when they were here after the third or fourth day, I started to get into that mode just to be triggered. I mean, from ACA, you'll understand this, very, very well, right? Nothing wrong with them. I love them, but I got triggered back into being that way. I skipped my meeting working on Saturday morning when they were here because I felt like we need to get this stuff done for the city for my wife's restaurant and blah, 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 blah.
Hmm.
And, luckily I picked up another meeting right away and realized what I had done, but it was,
Hmm.
yeah, it's easy to be triggered. It's still easy to be triggered back by old experiences and old people back into old behavior. So,
Yeah. And like we were talking about before we hit record, it's not like drugs. You put the jug in the plug. It's not like, I mean, it's alcohol. You put the jug in the plug, or it's not like drug. Like you, in this society, you kind of have to work.
yep,
And like, like I'm in a food recovery program. You have to eat.
yep,
And in terms of, ACA, a relapse is emotional intoxication.
mm-hmm,
Like we don't, like we were saying before, in ACA, you get a coin the day you join, and then your anniversary is your anniversary. You don't lose a
yep,
coin. And I went to a like the World Service Organization convention and got a coin one time. It was amazing to be able to get it there. And they specifically said, you'd have like a barrel of coins if every time you relapse,
Right.
you had to get a
Right.
new coin. It just doesn't make any sense. But it's just not this black and white, this is what sobriety is. And I know, like you said, you all have your own bottom lines. Like I have my own definition of abstinence.
Right.
Well, abstinence is in OA, it's refraining from compulsive eating and compulsive food behaviors
Mm-hmm.
while working towards or maintaining a healthy body weight. But what my foods are is different than other people.
Right.
My
Right.
compulsive food behaviors are different. I mean, some of them, of course, are the same,
Right. But
but
even there, I know because I have that gene as well.
yeah, yeah,
Like I could have some bottom lines around that about not eating something with sugar and not eating after a certain time of day or whatever, but I
mm,
could still have a 000 yogurt
mm,
at 6 o'clock in the evening because I am unsettled emotionally.
right,
And that
right,
would still be
yeah,
not meeting the intention of not having compulsive
right,
behavior, but it
yeah,
would maybe meet my bottom line. So it's
right,
just to have compassion and keep working, right?
mhm, right.
We don't even say working the program. A lot of the programs, I guess they say it works if you work it.
Or they say, yeah, and work it, you're worth it.
In
Yeah, yeah.
WA,
Okay, so that's really good.
we don't say that. We say keep coming back. It happens.
Nice. Oh, I love it.
Right?
And then
Keep coming back. If you show up, it happens.
oh, no shames and no shoulds. Can
Yep.
you say more about that?
Well, yeah. I mean, just there's there's no shoulds because shoulds are judged coming from a place of judgment. And if you're really just sharing experience, strength, and hope, there isn't any should. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you're walking your path. You'll make it available. We'll share our experience, strength, and hope with each other. We'll reach out to help. We'll reach out to ask for help. But
Mm-hmm.
there's not any should. Like when I
Mm-hmm.
did my step study, we formed a step study group to go through together. And um, I mean, I thought, well, for sure we'll be done in I thought we'd be done in like 6 weeks. Right. And then they said, well, why don't we do one step a month? And I thought, okay. And, in WA, and I'm trying to turn over a new leaf and let's go super, super slow. And it was 23 months.
Yeah. I did a step group with four of us. When I first got in, I was 52 at the time. The one woman was 52 and the other two women were 61. So we were like, we're taking our time and doing this because we're
Yeah.
not fucking around. Like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
happening. And it took us like 2.25 years. And the first
Yeah.
year we met every single week. The second year we allowed people to like take vacations and not call in.
Right. Right.
You know.
Right.
But it took us as long, and we started thinking we'll do a step a week,
Yeah.
and then it like the first week we're like, that's laughable. We'll probably do a step every 2 weeks. And then here it took us like 26, 27 months, something
Right.
like that. But um, changed my very being. I feel like my DNA has changed.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm sure it has. I'm sure it has, Barb. I mean,
Yeah.
it does. So I'm a work in progress. I always will be.
Mm,
But I have processes. I don't do, I mean, I do daily inventory, but I do it in the morning. I do it
mhm,
verbally while I'm running or something else. I
mhm,
don't write it. I don't,
mhm.
there's this long inventory. Mine is 1 glitch, 3 graces, 4 goods, 5 gratitudes.
Nice.
Right. And
Nice. I
and
love
half
it.
the time I'll pick up on the glitch and I'll do my parts therapy on myself about what part of me is driving that behavior and
Nice.
what's the reason and how old are they and doing the work, right? And I do
Mm,
that daily about
mm,
half the time on the
mm,
parts work. But so I found the way that it works well. I think as we all know in all these programs, and I can't emphasize enough, and this is really the work that I do with men now too, is the opposite of addiction is connection.
yes.
Right.
We're protected when we're connected.
That's right. Right. And
Mhm,
no matter what tradition you come from, you connect to higher power and you connect
mhm.
to others and you
Yeah.
connect to yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
I
So
think a
if
lot
you
of people are missing the connect to self piece.
right. And if you think about like if you take the words from Matthew, from Jesus in the Bible, right? It's
Mhm,
love God, which I also translate as to let God love you. That runs both
mhm,
ways.
mhm,
Why? So you can love yourself.
mhm,
Number two, why? So that you can love others.
mhm,
Right. But you have to have the plug into the source,
mhm,
acknowledge the connection to the source, love yourself, which is the channel
mhm,
for the source,
mhm.
and then let that good go out to other people as well.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm doing that a lot better. Um, And I guess the other thing I would say that this is not, I mean, I've done a ton of other work and I've done a lot of medicine journeys and stuff in the meantime as well. And somewhere along the way, I also stopped being codependent. And I haven't joined ACA yet, but especially with my wife, like I felt responsible to make her happy and always looking for approval. And, I got over that. Some of like with my bosses because I left them. I didn't leave my wife. And so we've worked through that, but it's really great now. Where like even yesterday, it's the end of the day, and I'm tired and going to her office and we're working on stuff for her business. And I'm like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah." And she's like, "Hey, you're tired. Why don't you go take a rest and then we'll pick this back up?" And two things beautiful about that. One, that she can call me out on it. Just boom,
Mhm.
right? Two, I don't take it personal. I don't think, oh, she
Mhm.
doesn't love me and I'm not okay
Mhm.
and I have to prove a point or none of that stuff. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
okay, yeah, you're probably right. Everything is better when I'm rested. Let me go down. And here's the magic about rested. It only takes 10 minutes sometimes.
Mhm.
I just shut it down. Since I've been a teenager, I didn't trust myself driving long distances because I fall asleep. Since I've been a teenager,
Wow.
since I joined WA, and my number one bottom line, this is my number one bottom line. If I'm tired, lie down.
Mm.
It's my number one bottom line. I can now drive cross country with the RV by myself,
That's so
completely
good.
trustworthy. Why? Because if I get tired, I just pull off the interstate or the back road. I take back roads a lot. Just
Yeah.
find some place to pull over, put the seat back on the truck,
Mhm. Right.
wake
And
up when
also
I
it
wake
sounds
up.
like you're getting productive sleep. Well, can't, I've never used the word productive asleep. I don't know why I said that. I'm going to
No,
take,
but it is productive sleep.
but
All sleep
right,
is
you're
productive,
getting
but
restful sleep
that's right.
is
And
what's
sometimes
happening.
it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's 20. It's never more than 30. I never set an alarm. I never set an alarm to wake up anymore, ever.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then the drive is enjoyable. And it's faster than stopping for a cup of coffee, which doesn't
Mhm.
solve it anyway. I just like push through and it's suffering. Like to push through is
Mhm.
suffering and dangerous. Right. I've
Mhm.
had a lot of accidents falling
Mhm.
asleep behind the steering wheel,
Mhm.
right? Which actually causes probably more accidents in this country than DUIs.
Mhm.
But we just
I
can't
bet
measure
it
it.
does. Yeah.
But you can't measure it because there's no blood, there's no lack of sleep in your blood,
And how many
right?
people are going to say, I fell asleep?
Yeah, not too many,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Mhm.
really amazing to just that simple thing. Like if you're tired, just stop for a few
Mhm.
minutes.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, then everything resets in a very short time, 10, 20
Mhm.
minutes.
Yeah.
Right.
So we do need to wrap up, but
Yep.
before we do, you mentioned specifically that your wife came to you with a WA quiz.
Yep.
I'm super curious. How did she get her hands on that?
That's
And
a
what
good
is it
question.
like for you to have her bring that to you?
I mean, it was great because she did it completely out of love. Right.
Mhm.
I think she just looked it up. She's like, she were around recovery a fair amount. We did a 12-step program at church years ago. It wasn't even called Celebrate Recovery. It was just called the 4T program. How to get
Okay, I've
over.
heard of Celebrate Recovery, but not.
Yeah, this was a smaller one. It was just like how to get over your addiction to stinking thinking is what they call it.
Okay.
Right. But so we were familiar with 12-step programs. And I had a lot of respect for people in my men's group. There was a lot of guys in my men's group that were from 12-step or
Mhm.
also in 12-step.
Mhm.
So I don't know. And maybe she just thought, there's something killing this guy. And she didn't think there's something. It's his work. I mean, she knew,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
And she probably just looked something up and gave me the link. I don't know. I'll ask her that.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, I just think that's so beautiful. Um,
but
to yeah.
she earned that right. But our relationship is really good, and
Mhm.
she was the first one to demonstrate unearned love to me in my life.
That's so good.
Right.
That's
10
beautiful.
years before, 15 years before, 15 years before, when was this? 2020? No, 10 years before, I had burned down all of our savings I had lost all of our savings in a business that I burned down. And I thought, I was the breadwinner. She was a stay-at-home mom. We had three kids, three babies, elementary
Mhm.
school, preschool.
Wow.
And I thought that she would leave me, like she's the planner and she's,
Mhm.
like she's the finance one and I'm the one that, like, and she just picked me up and said, "Hey, come," like she'd literally pick me up out of the floor where I was beating myself in the floor and
Mhm.
crying and like, what am I going to do? How are we going to pay the rent next month? I got to figure this out. And she picked me up and took me to the other room and she like encouraged me for a long time just to get off the floor
Mhm.
and come in the other room. And she has the curtains drawn. It was in October. Kids had just gone to school, so they're out of the house. And in the living room, she had the curtains drawn, and she had popcorn and hot chocolate and "It's a Wonderful Life" queued up on the TV.
Oh my goodness. Good for her. She sounds brilliant and very loving.
So she earned the right to
Mhm.
say whatever she feels like she needs
Oh
to
my
say.
goodness. That's just so loving and beautiful.
Yeah.
So, Art, I wish you were my neighbor. I would love to. You're amazing, and I
Oh,
hope you
thank
know
you.
it. And I really wish that I went to meetings with you. I mean, I just love your everything, your energy, the way that you talk, your um character, there's something, I don't know what to call it. This is like this, your essence. That's
Yeah.
your essence.
Authenticity. Yeah.
Yeah, and I appreciate you so much. So I know you have a podcast. If there's anything else you want people, like tell people what it is, where they can find it, and then if there's anything else that you want people to be able to follow up with you on, whether it's email, LinkedIn, website.
Yeah. No, I really appreciate that. Thanks, Barb. I mean, I have a website. It's artblanchford.com, and you can find everything there. The podcast is called Life in Transition with Art Blanchford, Midlife Men Finding Meaning. And I'm really, there's two other resources I'm going to share. My main social media is LinkedIn, but you can find me on Facebook and Instagram as well under Life in Transition podcast.
Okay. And I'll
Um,
put links to all of
yeah, no, that's
these in the show
wonderful.
notes. Yeah.
The other two things I want to mention is one of the things that's the most healing thing for me, and it's for all of us, just most of us don't know it, is nature.
Yeah.
And I just launched this, it's called The Crossing, and it's for men that are successful enough to know that success is not enough by itself.
What a good niche market.
Yeah.
Well
And it's
defined.
for men that realize that they want to be more connected to themselves, to nature, to God, to each other,
Mhm.
and to clear purpose, meaningful purpose for the future.
Mhm.
So I've just launched that. It's called the Crossing. You can find out about that too if you ping me on LinkedIn or one of my other things.
Okay.
And then I have a book too that I mean, like most books, it doesn't sell very much. I wrote it for my kids, but it's really useful in this recovery space and learning to trust your inner guidance and stuff. And it's called Purposeful Living
Okay.
by Art Blanchford, and it's written to my kids and for my kids as well as for anybody else that's raising someone coming of age, and it's
Yeah.
coming from this recovery space. So
Yeah.
those are some other resources that might be useful. And feel free to email me, Art Blanchford, art@artblanchford.com. Just reach out, and I'm here to serve in my second half. Right.
Yeah.
And it feels good.
Beautiful. Well, thank you again. I can't wait. And there's two people in particular that as soon as this comes out, I'm going to send it to. One is a former client who is a member of WA, and one is someone who um, actually depleted her adrenaline in her life by being such a workaholic.
Well, that was me too. That's called
Yeah.
chronic fatigue syndrome,
Hmm.
right? That's
Yeah.
what it took me years to recover from. But they said, hey, you spent 25 years to get there, so don't feel bad if it takes a few years to get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I still sometimes ask myself, is that still running, or am I just aware that I'm tired now instead of just
Hmm.
adrenalizing through it? I don't
Yeah.
know, but I have a beautiful life today. I'm
Yeah.
counting sunrises and sunsets instead of dollars and hours.
That's so good. I love it. Well, thank you so much for
Mm.
so much experience, strength, and hope and wisdom. And I appreciate you so much. And I will absolutely stay in touch.
Thank you, Barb. I
All
really
right. And
appreciate
when
your.
this comes out, I will send all this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to share it as well. Thank you.
Okay. All righty. You take care.
Bye-bye.
Later.
If your boundaries collapse in the moment, it's usually not because you don't know what to say. It's because when there's pressure, guilt, or someone else's reaction, it's hard to stay grounded and not override yourself. That's what we're actually working on inside my Boundary Bootcamp on May 2nd. This isn't a fast-paced workshop where you're just taking in more information. There's built-in time to slow down, reflect, and work through what's real for you so you can actually practice saying no, tolerating the discomfort, and not giving in when it matters. We'll look at what's been draining your time and energy, what matters most to you, and help you create a simple, personal blueprint so you can start showing up differently in your real life. Learn more at higherpowercc.com/bootcamp. Thanks for listening. If something here resonated, come connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm at Barb Nangle. I'd love to hear what you got from this episode. And if you'd like support building healthier boundaries in your personal, professional, or romantic life, you can book a free 30-minute Say No Without Guilt consultation at barbchat.com.
reconnect.net.